Maybe. Oh, can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I think, yeah, I'm just getting used to this
Yes.
platform, I guess. Okay, sorry. I was saying hello, hello, and I was like, what's going on? Okay. Okay, so we're 5 minutes after the start time, so I guess we can just begin. All right. I'll just do Mangalacharan, right? I usually start with the Bhagavatams, right? Mangalacharan shloka. So if anybody ever wants to follow along, I'll usually just do that every week. So that's the first shloka of the Bhagavatam. Janmadyasya yatonvayad itaratasharteshvabhijñasvarat tene brahma hridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsuraya tejo vari mridang yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrasha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Jai. Okay, so I titled the stream this week with like a famous Shakespeare quote, right? To be or not to be, right? And right, the famous ending to that is the question. So essentially, the topic is kind of like just the very concept of questioning and answering, right, in a very principal or primitive way. And for those of you who have seen, who are on Facebook or whatever, I made a post the other day. So I'll just read that really quick and we can start with that. And let me just pull it in front of me. And if anybody, right, while I'm reading or even, right, anytime, just note anything if you don't understand or you don't follow it or don't agree with it, or you're against it and you really don't like it, whatever, and we can talk about it. Okay, so let's begin. So a prerequisite to getting an answer to a question is that we want to know, not that it is just being asked superficially as a means to asserting a presumption we are stubbornly attached to for whatever reason, that ultimately means life or death to us. Right. So sometimes we ask questions, but we're not really asking to get an answer. And we're not really open to any answer to that question because we're doggedly actually attached to the position we're already in, our perspective, our opinion that we already have. And even if reason should be presented to us. So I'm just commenting now, I'm not reading anymore, right? Even if reason and logic and evidence and, someone puts, something right in front of us, we're not going to accept it because there's some deep attachment that means some kind of life or death to us. And life or death meaning, right, my sense of who I am, the very fabric of my family or my community or my position or my financial stability, right, rests on me keeping the position, keeping the opinion, keeping the act, right, that I'm standing in, that I'm speaking from right now. And so unless we're really, right, free and open to, right, actually asking a question, right, even if we're asking a question verbally, we're not actually asking a question in that sense. So I hope that's clear. So that was just commentary on that first little sentence there. Okay, so next, next building on top of that, another concomitant is a recognition. So another concomitant to, right, asking a question, something that goes along with it, is a recognition that this is something I don't know, right? If I'm honestly asking a question, I'm coming with not just intellectually, but heart, my heart. I don't know, right? And furthermore, that the answer to this will necessarily contradict my current system of approaching the question. Otherwise, I would be able to answer it. Right? So, to me, that's an interesting idea that if we actually have a question or there's something I really don't know, right, then when I get the answer to that question, when I know the answer to that question, my perspective on what I'm asking will have to change, will have changed, will necessarily change. And so there's like a transformation, a change of perspective, of state of being, of consciousness that is involved in this, right, deeper questioning mood, right? And so we call this in Sanskrit, this is Vismaya, right? For those of you who just love to know all the Sanskrit terminology like I do, right? Vismaya, inquisitiveness, like curiosity. I don't know. It's going to be something new. And that's the, right, we call it the bhava, or the state of being of, right, curiosity or questioning. And then the rasa that comes out of that bhava is adbhuta, or wonder. Wow, I didn't know that, right? It's something new. So, okay, moving on. Many of us live in various oscillations, right? Oscillation, for those of you who, right, vocabulary, whatever, back and forth, going back and forth, not going forward, going back and forth, like a rocking chair versus a car, for example, okay? Oscillation. So many of us live in various oscillations because we have questions, but simultaneously hold to perspectives which contradict the answer to the question. So on one side, I'm asking a question, but on the other side, I'm attached to something that contradicts the answer to the question. So even if I get the answer to the question, unless I let go of a contradiction that I have, even the answer is given to me, I won't be able to accept it because I have competing values here, right? And it goes back and forth, right? Okay, so many of us live in various oscillations because we have questions, but simultaneously hold to perspectives which contradict the answer to the question. And so the closer we get to the answer, the stronger the attachment to the contradiction is felt. Right? So if we can make a picture of kind of like, two posts, and right, this is one of my teachers I learned from when I was quite, in my late teens or early 20s, named Robert Fritz, right? He kind of used this sort of illustration of this, of like, you got two posts and we got a rubber band tied to us in the middle of these posts on both of those posts. So I pull away from one and the other side gets loose, but the one I'm pulling away from gets tighter and eventually pulls me back to the other side, right? Relieving the tension that I built up. But then the other side gets, right, tighter and eventually pulls me back, and we go back and forth like this in life when we have, right, a kind of a conflict between these two. And so there's no answer to a question. We don't go forward, we go back and forth. So we have some type of success, but then it's like, oh, suddenly the more successful I get, boom, I get pulled back, right? And okay, so another concomitant is, right, recognizing, many of us live in oscillation. So it tips over eventually when we go towards one side or the other. And the tension ratio, right, which one is tense, which one is loose, violently jerks us back to the irrational attachment, right? Because rationality, right, this is the Sanskrit word, right, vyavasayatmika buddhi, for those of you who, recognize this really famous Sanskrit shloka from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna, right, says vyavasa, and atmika. So the atmika, or the mind, or the way that, we're psychologically approaching something, is vyavasa, it's resolving. So a logical approach is basically just a resolving approach, that I see everything in a centralized way. And so no matter where I am, by following any thread faithfully, I eventually get a resolution. That's vyavasayatmika, or resolving perspective. Whereas he says, those who are on my path, right? They're like that. Their aim is one. But people who are not looking at things that, see Sri Krishna in some way or another as the center of everything, they see Bahushaka hi anantascha, many, many branches, everything's fragmenting, and so it goes into more and more complexity, right? And so there's no resolution. It's avyavasayinam, he calls it, right? So many of us associated with Sanskrit thought refer to this self-perpetuating, unresolving avyavasayinam cycle as samsara. So I'm sure many of us have heard of, right, samsara in some way or another, like, right? It's an unresolving oscillation, back and forth, birth, death, and we keep going through life after life. So that's the common way of referring to samsara, right? And so you can, yes, anyone? Someone saying something there? Okay, I thought I heard somebody. So, okay, I'll continue then. Hold on, I'm coming back to the StreamYard. Okay, hold on, I'll continue. I'm losing I'm not good at this tech stuff here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so avyavasayinam, unresolving cycle called samsara. Okay, because we're not asking questions. Some of us may be unconscious of this deep attachment that we have, that even if we're like on the conscious level, and wherever we're asking a question from, it seems like we're quite sincere. I'm asking this question, I want to know. But we may even be unconscious of like some really deep attachment that I'm just not really willing to let go of. I'm even unconscious I'm holding on to, that prevents us from being open to a transforming answer. Okay. So in fact, so samsara, right? Sri Krishna has given all the answers to us. So we have all the answers, I'm claiming here in my writing, either directly or by implication and reference to Vedic science. And I put in brackets there, knowledge, culture. And here, you know what? I'm just going to take this whole little writing here and I'm going to paste it in our chat here. So if anybody wants to use it to read along or follow along with, there. Hopefully you guys can click on that and see it if you want to. Oh, it breaks it up into pieces, huh? Okay. Sorry, I'm not better at the techie stuff. Someday my wife will actually become my, assistant and do all that. I'm too stubborn to learn it. Okay, so Sri Krishna has given all the answers to us, either directly or by implication, right? Upaman or Anuman, and reference to Vedic science, knowledge, culture, right? So I'm translating Vedic science as knowledge, culture.
Someone is waiting.
Yes, what is it?
Someone is waiting in the queue to let.
Oh, someone's waiting. Okay, where do I see people who are waiting? I don't see, let's see here. Comments, banners, media. I don't see anybody waiting. Oh, here, I put Kirtaniya in there. Oh, okay. Was it you, Kirtaniya, who's waiting?
Yeah, sorry. From my phone, I can never hear you, but it's okay on the computer. So sorry.
Oh, okay. So did you miss everything up until now?
No, I just had to be like this to hear.
Oh, okay. But now you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Was that Afreen that cued me in there?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm getting used to this. I canceled my Zoom membership. It was just too expensive and not worth it. So my wife was already using this, so I'm getting used to it. So bear with me. Okay, I'll just continue on. We're more than half done with this. And then we'll open it up to the board here. Okay, so Sri Krishna has given us all the answers, either directly or by implication, in reference to Vedic science or knowledge culture, right? So I say a lot of stuff that's kind of like, I encrypt it in these like ways of translating something that I sort of like translate it in a way that hopefully challenges people's normal way of translating stuff. And I'm kind of poking at people sometimes to like, hey, what do you mean by translating it that way? So, but whatever. If it's obvious, it's obvious. Okay, moving on. In fact, just to understand who, what, where, why, and how he is, he being Sri Krishna, right? Just by understanding who Krishna is, what Krishna is, where Krishna is, why he is, how he is, at once answers all these questions, right? Any question we may have, including how many fingers do I have behind my back, right? Whatever. But for various reasons, we have competing values, things that are more important to us or seem more important to us, that we're holding as, that we're calling more important to us. And sometimes it's not intellectual. We can call something more important to us just in a purely emotional way. And we may have totally different beliefs intellectually, that when we may speak about it differently, but still there's a feeling. It's an emotional reason that we hold on to something. Okay? So that's possible, right? And that doesn't contradict what we're saying here. We have competing values for various reasons, which keep us from resolving our identity, intellect, thought, and action on that answer. And what is that answer? Him. He is the answer, right? The answer, so I'm saying the answer is just Sri Krishna and really being in relationship with him, because then our intellect translates that in its own way. Our emotions translate his darshan, his relationship in its own way. And the way we behave, the way we think, the way we do everything transforms when we have Sri Krishna, like in our consciousness. We're Krishna conscious at that time. It transforms everything, changes the whole ball game, right? Moving on. The answer is revealed by our intellect. So once we're in Krishna consciousness and relationship, and right, he is the answer. Once he's there before us, right, in whatever way, and none of us would be here in this conversation if he wasn't already here in some way, in some amount, in some regard. And just by being directly conscious and present to him in the way he's already with us, right, boom, our intellect will reveal that. When we let give the intellect the time while in that state, it will translate. Emotions will translate. Everything will naturally, as Prabhupada, right, speaks about it. He says automatically, right? Automatically it will happen. So the answer is revealed by our intellect, focusing our mind, heart, right? Because the mana in Sanskrit, it doesn't really have a direct English equivalent, even though mana comes from, right, the word mind comes from mana. It's actually mind, heart, right? So the answer is revealed by our intellect, focusing our mind, heart from a state of being referred to here as Krishnashraya. So ashraya, for those of you who don't know directly, shelter, refuge, right? An apex, if we're, in geometry, the angles that form a geometric figure, those places where lines meet each other, those are called ashras, right? Because they're making a shelter, making a closed shape. So ashraya is, right, giving us shelter, that we're inside of something. What are we in? We're inside of Krishna's refuge or shelter. And when we're consciously situated there, not just in an intellectual or, right, sentimental way, right, but we're actually, right, being, right, inside of that to whatever degree we can. In this state, symptoms listed in, we covered last week, Bhagavad Gita 13.8 through 12, where, right, the whole list of qualities like humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, simplicity, right, staying by a guru until the lesson has been learned, right, that's right, acharya upasana, right, and recognizing that dukkha dosha anudarshanam, right, anudarshanam, right, or that darshanam or perspective that is anu, right, in pursuance of or accepting, that any dukkha, any, right, suffering, that's more of an emotional thing, and any dosha, any, right, that's more of an intellectual aspect, of fault that is seen, a discrepancy, So any, right, dukkha, suffering, or discrepancy only has to do with janma, mrityu, jara, and vyadi, right? Those things that are born, that old age, disease, and death pertain to, not the self. So dukkha, dosha, right? All these qualities, humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, simplicity, cleanliness, right? That goes on a whole list Sri Krishna gives. And these are symptoms of a person, of us, when we are, to any degree, situated in Krishna's ashraya or shelter, or in the answer state, right? And so, here we go. So the symptoms listed in Bhagavad Gita 13.8 through 12 will be manifest. And to that degree, we will naturally see/answer. So I'm using see and answer as a synonym here, right? To directly perceive something is to have the answer. That's vijnana, right? So we will naturally see the truth of things which we question or seek to know, which are all subcategories of simply knowing Him, which implies knowing Him as the Brahma, the all-pervasive One, the Paramatma, the Supreme Self, the Bhagavan, the reservoir or possessor, person in whom all the bhutis or personal beatitude have their source and meaning. So great, because things are going to look different when we're situated there. They just look different. A glass of water looks different. My breath is different. Everything's different. And as much as we keep squirming and trying without doing that first thing first, right? We're just going to keep oscillating and going back and forth, and we'll even blame the process and say the process doesn't work, or it doesn't work to have this understanding because I already tried it and, it didn't do anything. Things stay the same, right? But we're avoiding that simple, direct, basic thing of being situated in Krishna Ashraya and then doing the thing, right? So, okay. So the main goal is Krishna Ashraya, or situation in a state of being in His refuge or shelter. Everything else desirable manifests in due course. The main way to get situation in Krishnashraya is to have satsanga, or open, honest relationship with someone who is in this state. Attachment to anything else will compete with this and prevent us from being in this state. That includes attachment to sectarian religious institution, associated rituals, or any or everything else. The end. Okay, so that's that. That's my kind of like spiel for today. And now I'm just going to go around our satsang table here and ask for anyone's reflections or thoughts or whatever that you feel to share here relevant. So let's see. I'm trying to open the screen up so I see more people. Okay, Hasmukji, you're the first person I see here. Please.
Haribol Prabhuji.
Can everybody hear Hasmukh? Okay,
Yes,
great, good.
yes.
Yes, please.
That's a very good start today. Because I always imagine that in order to ask a question, we already have a perception of the answer, an expectation. And sometimes I think that's where the conflict starts in my own mind. I can only speak for myself.
Right.
Is this the answer that I'm expecting? You may have a solution or an option, but am I willing to accept it?
Right. And I imagine, like, if I was asking you a question with a preconception of what I think the true answer is, and if I'm attached to that, in some way or another, you're going to sense or feel that, I would think.
Yes.
and the nature of the exchange would be qualified by that. Even if both of us were even not like really directly intellectually aware of that.
No, it will certainly lead in one direction.
Yeah. Whereas, let's say I was asking you a question and I really was open and I really, was open to your answer. And I'm not coming with an attached perspective that I think I already know I'm right. And if I was open, that probably would also really, right, set the stage for the conversation.
It would. Yes.
Anything else? Go on. I think that's a very beautiful line of thinking.
No, I'll let someone else contribute first.
Okay.
Let me
Okay,
think.
thank you. Very nice. Yeah. Kirtaniya.
Well, just some thoughts that I was having. But are you hearing an echo when I talk?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine.
But there's no echo. There's an echo on my end when everybody talks. Other than
I don't hear
you.
any echo.
Okay.
No, we get an echo. I've got an echo.
Oh, you've got an echo?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Even when I was speaking, I get an echo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's like that for me too. When you talk, there's no echo.
I don't
But
know
when
if there's
everybody else
something
talks,
I
there's
can do
echo.
about that. Let me see. I saw some kind of echo thing here, and I think it was ticked. Let me see here. Automatically adjust. Echo cancellation is clicked on, on the thing here inside of the audio settings. So I don't know. Let's see. Reduce mic background noise. I can try clicking that. Does that help?
Test.
Testing,
There's
testing.
still a little echo, but it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, we can still get through it.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. So.
But I can hear you quite well.
Okay, good.
Sorry. Yeah, your problem.
I was just thinking about from the point of view of like preaching. Vatsal always has said many times, he just tries to be a good person first. Like he just tries to for when he's meeting new people or whatever, he wants them to believe that he's a good person and that they like him first before he really gets into trying to talk about preaching.
Right.
And I was thinking how that's so important because when people come in with their already gender, their conceptions or whatever, and you can tell them, you could tell them how it is, and with a full confidence in what you're saying. But if their receiver is not tuned in to what you're putting out, they're not going to accept it. So how do those people become open to what you're saying? And it seems like you have to have that relationship of trust. And then if they even deeper, if you have a relationship of love and trust with a person, then it's going to allow you to open up to be able to receive whatever advice or information they're giving you, and you might change what you were already thinking. So I was just thinking about how that is so important in our relationships, because at the end you were talking about how the real key is having a relationship with a person who is already Krishna conscious or has already achieved, this higher perfection. And that's the secret to our success. And so that it just really makes sense, because if you have a relationship like that with someone and you're developing that love and trust bond, then you're really going to be surrendered and open to whatever they're trying to advise you to help you follow that same path. So it's really like a beautiful thing. And even also Hermila, who gives all the advice on children and sort of everything, she had a lecture I listened to one time that had a really loud meeting, and she talked about 4 key principles of raising your kids in Christian consciousness, or raising your kids at all. But one of those 4 key principles was developing a relationship of love and trust. And she said, and if you do that, then, oh, you fixed the echo. Did you do something?
Oh, probably it was. Oh, okay. Yeah, I put my headphone on. So maybe it was like, because I had the speaker on the laptop, it was maybe doing feedback there. So
There you go.
Good.
But
I'm glad.
anyway-
So now you can focus more on what you're saying. That can be annoying. Go ahead. Yeah.
But
So Urmila is talking
says-
about that.
Urmila says with kids, if you develop a relationship of love and trust with them, they will do whatever you say. They will do whatever you say not to do, and they will do whatever you say to do because they respect you, or they don't want to hurt you. They don't want to disappoint you. So it seems like at the very foundation of just our being here in the material world and our relationships with people, that foundation of love and trust is like so important. Even within the communities, I've experienced it when you can't trust someone in the community, and then just it creates a big mess among everybody. And so, yeah.
Right. So it sounds like basically, right, in the scenario, the first scenario you were talking about, like a quote unquote preaching type of scenario, or, where we're like sharing Krishna consciousness, because I think, you'll benefit from understanding this perspective. I think that, but even to have that conversation and even have the possibility of someone understanding what I'm trying to say to them, there needs to be, like you're saying, right, you're talking right here, this love and the trust as a foundation.
Yeah. And that brings up another thing too, of like some people, it might take a long time to get a person to trust you. But then sometimes you might just meet somebody and be like, there's just something about them. Like, right. I just feel like I can trust them, So,
right.
It's
so an implication of what you're saying then would be, it's of primary importance to be aware of where the love and trust is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I might start throwing on too much wood on the fire, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And if that fire is like the love and trust fire, is not so big or strong or whatever, and I start throwing tons of wood on there, right, in whatever form or shape, maybe we can't handle so much emotion in our relationship, or so much, conceptual philosophy stuff or whatever, or activities, who knows. But if we're really just focused on the love and the trust, right, and that's something we can only know by feeling it, right, then we'll have a really great gauge in all, like in these two kind of situations you're talking about, right? You're talking about like a preaching kind of situation, or you're talking about like with kids, right? Type of educational situation with your kids or whatever. And both, any situation, right? Then if we're just really clear and staying with that love and trust awareness, then everything will be kind of taken care of pretty well. We'll be able to attend to things pretty well. Am I hearing you?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I wanted to draw out one or two implications there, in that it also, because, we might think, okay, well, that just means everybody's just, lovey-dovey, and we're just holding hands, walking down a lane with flowers on both sides, and it's just like, we're singing songs, and it's just all beautiful and happy and great. And I just want to, point out an implication here, and that's that, inside of a relationship where there is love and trust, right, it's kind of like there's always going to be two opposites inside of anything, and there's going to be a safe place for disagreement, for doubt, for pain, for fear to be addressed. Because I know when I trust somebody, I know automatically, if I do, that they'll be able to handle it. If I say, hey, you know what you just said there, what you did there, it doesn't seem right to me, and here's my doubt. Or, hey, you know what, I just, when you did that thing, I'm feeling a lot of like pain all of a sudden because it seems like this to me. Right? And if there's a love and trust relationship that this like exchange is happening in, it has the fortification to be able to handle both, and I can also share a lot of innocent, spontaneous, vulnerable love as well. Both of those things. And so, and it even, I would say it even encourages, like, okay, well, if we're preaching to someone, if there's love and trust and they sense that from us, that I don't think I have the answers, I'm just sharing honestly what I've got here. And you can check it out for yourself. If they they'll just be, they'll be like, okay, they might even be like, let me test and put it, test this water and put it out here. And what they wouldn't even have said any honest opinion before if they felt like you were just coming with some conviction state where I know it all. I'm the guru and you're the person who's gonna, be the, the lucky recipient of my great knowledge,
Yeah.
Lovely. Anything else you want to add before we move to, okay.
Yep,
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really loved both of those perspectives, especially with the kids. I just love the kid thing. So, all right. Afreen, please.
I was just reflecting on both the perspectives. Like it's so true when we go and when we preach. Like if we just learn that this is a simple formula like a maths division. Just
Can you
give it out.
just speak a little bit more slowly so that everybody can understand you better? I can understand your accent, but I'm betting. Okay, a little bit slower, enunciate a little better for the sake of us.
Okay. So regularly when we get to know about when we go and preach, regularly go and give this, like it's a maths division formula, go and just give it
It's a
out
what
to people.
formula?
It's just like a maths division formula, like
sorry, what formula? I'm not understanding that word.
mathematics division.
Maths division.
Sorry?
Mathematics.
Oh, math.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah, I didn't get that. Okay, so yeah, carry on then.
But everywhere and every situation and every person has a different, life and from where they are coming through. So we don't understand, we just give it out to people by learning from others. So this is something I was just reflecting, that everybody is unique in their own nature. So we should learn more about it than just giving it out.
So it sounds like what you're saying is, we should, it would be good, for people in general, for us all, if we provide a space within which we're having interaction with each other, where there's invitation and there's space for everybody's unique perspective.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're also giving a contrast, that when we don't have this space for another person's totally different perspective, and we think only my perspective can be correct here, and I'm not interested to hear what you have to say, you should only be interested, because I have the correct, and like I was saying before, you're so lucky that now you can hear my perspective, and it sounds like what you're saying is this, this common knowledge that we pass on, but maybe we don't matter, that everyone has a completely unique perspective. And I think that aside from what we're saying with words, that if we're actually saying with our presence what you're saying there, that and so I'm gonna ask you if there's anything else you want to say, because I'm going to go on one other idea from that. So please say anything else you want to say before I go on. Okay, fine. So I made reference to this word, you may remember, vismaya, when I was saying about curiosity. What is the question, right? So this refers to who has, well, I can't see everybody's video, so whatever. Maybe some of you have heard of Rasa Mandala. have you got any, some of you may have heard of this idea that there is a mandala of rasa, right? And so a mandala is basically a circle pattern of any kind, right? That's a mandala, right? And so the rasa mandala, okay, that's a circle of rasa. So what is rasa, right? And what is that rasa mandala? So a common picture that, we may, right, in this Vaishnav satsanga here, we may picture Sri Krishna and Radha, right, Swamini, dancing in the middle of a circle of gopis. Okay, this is a very beautiful image of this idea about what is rasa mandala. So rasa and bhava. So to understand rasa, we have to understand bhava. To understand bhava, we have to understand rasa. So this is to understand the rasa mandala. So bhava is, like, you can say, the masculine thing, the plus thing, and and then the rasa is like the feminine thing, the minus thing, the earth, right? Kirtaniya says, I have to go feed the horses. Okay, say hi to the horses for us. So nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so the rasa mandala, we have, some of you may have also heard this idea that there's 8 principal gopis or sakhis, right? The Ashta Sakhis. Krishna has 8 principal, right, gopis, or sometimes you'll hear in the Gaudiya circles that Radha, right, Swamini, Krishna's, right, feminine aspect, has 8 primary sakhis, right? Those are 2 different notions, right? So anyhow, there's 8 in a circle with Radha and Krishna in the middle. And so there's a Krishna side of the circle. There's a Radha side of the circle, right, of rasa. So bhava is an expression, whereas rasa is that which is evoked in us from or by an expression. So a simple example could be cooking and eating food. Cooking or preparing the food, right? Like Hasmukji, for example, right? We were visiting, and right, Hasmukji, you gave me some fennel from the, right? And I just earlier, I made a little drink, so I cook it and, toast it up, and then I smash it up in the okli and then put it in my drink, like that. So there's a whole bunch of bhava that's the preparation of food. Everything that goes into, like, where did you get it? How did you, what's the mood you're in when you're making, right? So many, we could go on and on talking about all of that goes into that bhava of preparing the food, the expression. And then, right, let's say I prepare some drink or some, right, food, and I offer it, everything I've done, and then I give it to you. And now, not just the taste of the food or the texture, that's one part of the experience that is evoked in me as I eat that food, right? And everything about the way it was prepared, the bhava, has something to do with what is being evoked in me, the rasa. So, right? So hopefully we can all get a clear, simple, right? Here's bhava, here's rasa. And so in the rasa mandala, now we can think about it in a little bit of a different way. So let's say we have a circle, okay? And on one side of the circle, right, the right side, right, the camera's reversed here, but anyway, the right side, we have the bhava side, the sun side, the masculine side, right? And those of you who are, right, I think just Hasmukh and Afreen are here, right? Pongbhav, right? So you understand some Hindi, right? Some Sanskrit. And then on the other side, the moon side, the left side, the feminine side, right? We have the Stri Bhav, the feminine aspect, and that is the rasa side. So a bhava side and a rasa side of the circle. And now let's picture that we have inside of that circle, another circle, and another circle, and another, and we have 8 of these circles going into the center or the core of what we call in Sanskrit Shringar, or, right, adornment, adoration, right? This pure regard, right? And this is, we can, in terms of relationship, this is the lover's relationship, but it's not restricted. You can see the shringar when I adorn you. I put a tika on your head. I put a mala, a garland on you. I can adorn you and adore you, right? In so many ways. And so that core, that, pure, intimate, spontaneous love is the center of this rasa mandala. So, but fine, we want to get to that center. But, so my mood is constantly like, I focus a lot more strategically on the outer boundary of that, how to just get into the rasa mandala period at all. And so this question and answer, right, is that this right, I think Hasmukh's coming in and out of the rasa mandala there. So the vismaya, right, or the questioning, curious, I don't know, this is something new state, right, is what brings us into the circle of rasa. And you can say what's outside and what's inside here. What is that boundary, right? And by the way, Yamaraj is kind of like seen as the yama, the restriction, the outer boundary of something, right? And Varuna, right, the ocean is what's, right, that ocean on the outside where all the big aquatic asuras of the unconscious ocean live, right? So what crosses us over this into rasa land instead of, and the opposite, normal land, right? Mundane. Some people say mundane rasa. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron to even call that rasa in a sense. But anyway, here I am, normal. And now the moment I come to you, or someone comes to me and is simply asking us, actually from their heart, right, from their basic state of being, and intellectually, right, mentally, and with their words or gesture, they're asking with this open heart, this open mind of not assuming that I know. I'm actually interested. I'm curious about something and I ask you. That is the bhava that will beget rasa of adbhuta, or wonder, to bring us into the rasa mandala, out of normal land, mundane land. And immediately everything that was before mundane, we're breathing, I'm some American guy living in England, and it's, it's like 1522, 322 here, and everything's just normal. But the moment someone asks me something honestly, with real just curiosity, right, with this bhava of vismaya, I want to know, honestly. My heart wants to know. I'm curious about you, right? Or I come and ask you with this mood, this bhava of vismaya. I don't assume I know. Everything suddenly becomes kind of magic, right? Gets that sort of sparkle from the Disney films, right? The breathing that I thought was normal suddenly becomes a mystery. The water that I'm drinking it suddenly becomes amazing. And everything, because suddenly, what happened to the world? I'm now in a world of mystery, beauty, wonder, amazement, adbhuta rasa. Wow, that's adbhuta, right? And so this, right? So I tend to put more and more stress for again and again and more on the outer thing. That what is that crossover that brings us into, you could say, reality? That, right? This, and it's this actual question, which is none, we could talk about it another way and say it's just coming here with an open heart. And it doesn't mean we have to get rid of, my whole Bhima karma construct here and my assumptions and my beliefs, but they take a back seat. And I'm just making primary, right? Everything else is being subordinated, to the truth that I don't know anything absolutely, because I'm not absolute. I don't have an absolute perspective. And therefore, I will naturally be primarily everything else I know. Everything else will be inside of curiosity, mystery, wonder, beauty, amazement. Right? And it's right, we don't get rid of anything. All we're doing is making a little adjustment in what's predominant and coming with honesty, with curiosity. And right, we will see, even if we don't see Sri Krishna as this, whatever, maybe we don't see the cowherd boy, or maybe we don't see the color of his skin, right? But we're, at the very least, as Krishna says, Vyavasyatmika buddhi, we'll see that everything is resolving around a central figure. Everything is resolving. There's one thing here, and it's all fitting together in some mysterious, beautiful way. That's the minimum that happens in rasa, when we just come with the honest, questioning spirit or bhava or mood. Okay? I'll end my pravachan, my speech there. Any further comments before we sign off for today? Yes, Hasmukji, looks like you're going for the trigger there. Yeah, please.
Yeah, that was a very good explanation, especially when you describe the outer circle and the 8 circles going in. And it reminds me of what my brother used to say, that there's always like a spiral which goes down, and you have to start at the outer edge and gradually move in. And it does take time. And that's when all your past experiences, knowledge from other people will come in. But at the end of the day, it's just up to you to go down that spiral until you reach a point of the ultimate understanding. So,
yeah, thank you. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's something so simple to it, right? This way of looking too, right? If we just have this sort of open-hearted, simple, honest way of just being with each other, right? There's this spiral, as you're describing it, gets activated, and it will be carried there.
true.
And as long as we're just being, right, spending time with each other with this sort of honest, right, humility, pridelessness, non-violence, right, simplicity, those are the qualities from that shloka I was quoting from Bhagavad Gita, right? It's like, it's just a list of like this state. When we're in that, right, it's just, that's how we're going to be naturally. We don't have to squeeze the humility thing, be humble, be humble.
That's true. Yes.
It's humbling when we're just honest, right? And when I sense that from you and you sense that from me, right, then this bhava moves through us and we enter into this magical journey together. And it's like, we just don't want to stop having satsang.
Yeah. Definitely. It's enticing.
And if we don't feel that, we better adjust something. Then we're not really doing the satsang thing. We gotta figure it, twist it a little bit differently.
True.
Yeah. Okay. Afreen, are you still there? Maybe she checked off. Looks like it's just me and you. Okay.
I think it
All right
is.
then. Hasmukji.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. You look after yourself. Enjoy your fennel tea.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I actually make a hot chocolate with it.
Okay, hot chocolate.
Hey, I highly recommend if you guys get any, like, just I use like raw cacao.
Okay.
Right, and then you take some fennel and cardamom, elaichi, right, and a little long. So one piece of long of the clove.
Clove, yeah.
And then a little bit of 10, 20 pieces of fennel, and then like just 3 cardamoms, and I roast them a little bit and then smash them up. And that's kind of like the masala mix. And then you
Right.
put that into the chocolate, and the hot water, mix it all up, and then mix how much milk and sugar, whatever. That's my like secret recipe for hot chocolate. So if you try it out, and tell me if
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll do that. Try that out today.
put that fennel to work in another way. Okay. So
I
nice
hope
to
you're
see
keeping
you.
well.
Oh yeah,
Are
definitely
you,
am. Definitely am.
are you well?
Hari Hari.